is a cell? The word cell comes from a Latin word cella, which means small room. Cell is the basic structural, functional, and biological unit of all known organisms. It is the smallest unit of life. Therefore, cells are often called the building blocks of life. The human body develops from a single cell called zygote. A zygote is the union of the sperm cell and the egg cell, which is also known as a fertilized ovum. The zygote begins as a single cell, but it divides rapidly in the days following fertilization. In other words, zygote undergoes multiplications, giving rise to trillions of cells. According to recent estimates, there are about 75 to 100 trillion cells that are making up the human body. The study of cells is called cytology, but it is also known as cell biology or cellular biology. The cell theory is a unifying principle of biology. It is a theory in biology that includes one or both of the statements that the cell is the fundamental structural and functional unit of living matter, and that the organism is composed of autonomous cells with its properties being the sum of those of its cells. The cell theory is so established today that it forms one of the unifying principles of biology. So, what is the history of this cell theory? There are 5 cell theory scientists. In 1673, Anton van Leeuwenhoek, a Dutch scientist, discovered bacteria. In 1665, an English scientist, Robert Hooke, looked at a cork under a microscope where he saw organisms and named them cells. In 1838, Matthias Schleiden, a German scientist, discovered that all plants are made up of cells. In 1839, Theodor Schwann, a German scientist, discovered that all animals are made up of cells. In 1858, Rudolf Virchow, a German scientist, discovered that all cells come from other cells that already exist. Now, what are the principles of this cell theory? The first principle of cell theory is that the cell is the smallest structural and functional unit which is capable of carrying out life processes. The second principle is that the functional activities of each cell depend on the specific structural properties of the cell. The third principle is that cells are the living building blocks of all multicellular organisms. The fourth principle is that an organism's structure and function ultimately depend on the collective structural characteristics and functional capabilities of its cells. Another principle is that all new cells and new life arise only from the cells that already exist. It means all cells are arising from pre-existing cells. The last principle of cell theory is that because of the continuity of life, the cells of all organisms are fundamentally similar in structure as well as function.